Marco Rubio was done holding back.
Is there a footnote that I missed somewhere?
There's no constitutional right to a student visa.
After thousands of student visas were revoked over national security concerns, the far left pushed hard to reverse the decision, even taking to national TV to play the victim card.
I'm not shocked because we know that the president oftentimes resorts to very bigoted, xenophobic, Islamophobic, racist rhetoric.
And today, we're covering it all. So let's kick things off with Jayapal questioning Rubio.
The State Department approved the revocation of a student visa for Rümeysa Öztürk, a Turkish citizen who is a graduate student at Tufts University, apparently simply for writing an op-ed. According to an internal State Department memo, you took this action under your discretionary authority to revoke visas, and soon after you revoked her visa, armed and masked plainclothes officers snatched Ms. Ozturk off the street and transported her to a prison in Louisiana. Mr. Secretary, do you really think that Ms. Ozturk's op-ed results in a foreign policy consequence for the United States?
I believe that case involves someone whose visa we never would have granted had we known ahead of time.
I'm not asking you that question. I'm asking you if you think an op-ed, but that's exactly, in fact, what happened. The State Department wrote a memo concluding that you did not have sufficient grounds to revoke Ms. Ozturk's visa. There was no evidence showing that she'd engaged in any activities that were a threat to national security.
For context, Rumeysa Ozturk is a Tufts University graduate student from Turkey who previously attended Columbia and was in the country on a student visa. In 2024, she co-wrote an op-ed that called for Tufts to disclose its investments and divest from companies with direct or indirect ties to Israel. That piece became the basis for DHS referring her case to the State Department and recommending her visa be revoked. What followed was a legal battle that's still ongoing, with the latest development being an immigration judge terminating her removal proceedings, arguing the DHS hasn't met the burden of proof needed to justify deportation. But at the time of this hearing, the case was still unfolding, and Rubio continued defending the administration's position, saying this.
Where in the Constitution does it say that the Secretary of State can override the First Amendment protections of free speech? Is there a footnote that I missed somewhere?
There's no constitutional right to a student visa.
So, but is there a constitutional right? Does it say somewhere that Marco Rubio gets to determine which speech is appropriate and revoke student visas based on what you think constitutes free speech?
There's a statute that says the Secretary of State gets to determine whether someone is a threat. We deny visas every day all over the world.
Do you think that the Immigration and Nationality Act trumps the Constitution of the United States, Mr. Secretary?
Well, Congress can always change the law if you want, but I'm telling you,
Mr.
while I have the authority, I will
clear.
continue to revoke the visas of these people that come here to tear this country apart.
You said that, Mr. Secretary. Let me reclaim my time because you are talking about revoking student visas based on what somebody says. And that means that you are trumping the legal supreme court, the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution of the United States.
No one has a right to a student visa.
That's the other side of the coin when it comes to cases similar to Rümeysa's. In another speech, Rubio made the administration's position clear, saying, "Why would any country in the world allow people to come and disrupt? We gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist that tears up our university campuses." He went on to add, "If you come into the United States as a visitor and create a ruckus for us, we don't want it. Go back and do it in your country." And that's a fair point. A lot of the countries these students come from wouldn't even allow due process in a case of wrongful detention. There's also a broader concern tied to Cold War ideas like cultural subversion, where outside influence aims to weaken a country from within. Whether you agree with that framing or not, it explains the mindset behind the policies. As Secretary of State, Rubio is operating within laws passed by Congress, and he has the authority to act when national interests are involved.
Mr. Rubio, why did the administration need to use masked, armed, unidentified agents to whisk somebody off the street and deny her counsel for almost 24 hours after her arrest?
Well, you'll have to ask the agencies that did that work. I'm not responsible for that. I'm responsible for revoking the visas of these people that come to tear this country apart.
Secretary Rubio, I'm talking about this particular case where you revoked the student visa, masked men on the streets, snatching people off the streets. If these are legitimate law enforcement agents carrying out proper arrests, why are they hiding their identities?
because then radical crazies will try to hurt them.
So you think that U.S. agents who have almost always gone without face coverings, even when they're arresting some of the country's most dangerous criminals, suddenly have so much to fear from a graduate student who wrote an op-ed that they need to be masked? Is that
that law
accurate?
student was a guest in the United States on a student visa. No one's entitled to a student visa.
So you
deny
revoked her
visas every
student
day,
visa
and we will revoke and
based
continue
on
to
an
revoke
op-ed,
visas.
which trumps the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution.
Someone's coming up here to stir up problems on our campus. We're going to revoke their visa.
She didn't do any of that. She wrote an op-ed. She wrote an op-ed, and I'm talking to you about her particular case.
It's interesting how Jayapal asks a question only to cut Marco off mid-answer, almost as if she's putting on a show that'll secure her campaign donations. Mind you, this is the same Pramila that sent a letter to Mark Zuckerberg before the 2020 election, urging him to stop the spread of election-related misinformation on their platforms, and requesting the immediate removal of posts, groups, and event pages that were planning or promoting white supremacist violence, voter suppression, or misinformation without even defining what she meant with these terms. She later proudly celebrated Trump being banned on Facebook, calling the move too little too late. She also seems to have a problem with Afrikaners getting refugee status in the United States, because this was her next question.
You revoked her student visa because she wrote an op-ed.
Would you revoke? We're going to do more.
I have another question for you. Would you revoke the visa of someone in the United States who published claims that, quote, Jews are an untrustworthy and dangerous group? Yes or no?
We will revoke the visa of anyone who's in this country as a guest who's here to stir up trouble.
Are you going to revoke the visa of somebody who made that?
I mean, the case, I'll look at it. I'm looking to get crazy people out of our country.
Actually, it's not just about revoking. You actually, Secretary Rubio, excuse me, reclaiming my time. Can you explain to me why the Trump administration granted refugee status to Charles Kleinhaus, the white Afrikaner who tweeted that exact statement that I just said? There's the case.
That's not a visa.
You who granted that person to enter the United States. That's a totally different process.
That's someone that applied here through a totally different process.
Secretary Rubio,
visas are a privilege.
Secretary
we deny
Rubio,
them all the time, and we'll revoke them.
You revoked a visa based on an op-ed, and then you allowed for masked men to snatch somebody off the street.
Your time is expired. That's your claim.
For those wondering, yes, the Afrikaner who made those comments is still in the country with refugee status. And when the story gained traction, he argued he had written the post in error while he was taking medication for a kidney stone, adding, I come from Jewish descendants, and I have huge respect for them. But for Jayapal to specifically bring up this case and mention the fact that he's white, as if that changes anything, goes on to show that she was trying to shift the focus here. On top of that, she previously had stances of being anti-free speech. So excuse me for not buying her act as the ultimate First Amendment warrior. She'll only defend it if it suits her agenda, and it's not a principled position. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the story. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember here, you heard it at the dais.